Next up, we have Alex. 3 fun facts about Alex. Alex has published a German language coffee table book. I don't wonder what is that about? Okay. He recently finished second in an international dance contest. Is that? I'm spinning some facts here, okay. And Alex is pretty damn sure that he can eat 200 McNuggets in a single sitting. Please welcome Alex to the stage.
Thank you. I have never done it. I've never eaten 200 nuggets.
No way.
Have you done it?
Yeah.
So why can't I? Okay. So how many? Yeah, we're done. So how many of y'all smoke weed? Let's start there. Oh, can I have the clicker? Yeah, a few of you? A few, not a lot. Okay. How many of you buy your weed from legal stores? Okay, a lot more of you buy legal weed than smoke weed, so it's a little confusing. We're not going to really worry about that. My name's Alex. I'm co-founder of The Peak and previously the co-founder of Leaf Forward. And in 2018, I raised $1 million to invest in cannabis startups. At the time, I had 0 venture experience. I had never worked at a company that was venture-backed, and I barely smoked any weed. Everything we invested in went to 0, so we lost everything. But we did manage to return $500,000 to investors. So I'm going to tell you a story about how I entered a brand new industry. I gained a ton of credibility. Got everything 100% wrong, but then totally redeemed myself. It was kind of a real Dumb and Dumber situation. And you can shout out to the other dumber over there. So, what happened, right? How did I do this? How did I raise $1 million? I turned myself into an expert overnight, right? I was quoted in the Globe and Mail, Toronto Life, a number of other publications. I spoke at Ryerson or TMU. I shaped the young minds of a generation. I did. This is what's wrong with everybody today. So what I did was, and we talked a lot earlier, we had that little stand-up about, if you're an imposter, right? And what I'm talking about isn't imposter syndrome. I became an imposter. I convinced people that I was this expert. How did I do it? It started at a meetup just like this, on a night just like this. And we invited this guy, Vic Newfield, to come speak. And he was at the time, the CEO of a cannabis company, an early traded cannabis company called Afria. If you read that, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a juxtaposition. Thought that was a laugh line. Don't worry about it. And we said, hey, look, we have this great community of entrepreneurs, business leaders, service providers. They really are dying to hear you speak. So we heard this and said, yeah, this is a great opportunity. I'll come out to speak. So we went and found those people. And we had a lot of cold emails, coffees, that sort of thing, and we ended up bringing out an audience to hear him speak. It was actually a great idea, and we replicated this model across the country. We actually started holding meetups about weed in 7 different cities across Canada, which was really good for me because this helped me continue this kind of imposter I was doing, pretending I was an expert. And this is actually how I got all those media clippings. I would then slide into the DMs and inboxes of journalists, of event organizers, and say, hey, I'm an expert in cannabis. I have these events. All these people are coming to see me, so I must be an expert. It's right? Yeah, yeah, king of fucking up here. And the queen there. Just want to make sure everybody gets their shout outs. So I really built myself up that way. And a few tips here. When you slide into their inboxes, don't pitch yourself, right? Follow along at home because you can all do this too. Don't say write about my company, write about me. Just say, hey, just if you need any help, I'm here. I can connect you with somebody. Don't worry about it. And they will be eating out of your hand, I swear. The other move is if you ever get into trouble, if you're ever out of your depth, just bullshit and use industry jargon. And it's really good to throw shade at people who have just entered that same industry 2 days before you and act like you're better than them. So I don't know where I am with this, but that's not a scam. So One time I was speaking at a Tech TO event. It was like they did a special cannabis event. I don't know if you guys remember the legalization of cannabis, but it was frothy, right? So Tech TO, they filled up the entire Masonic temple, and they did this event. And I'm on the stage. It was very well lit. And lighting's great here. Like, don't worry about it. But no makeup. And so it was very well lit and all that. And somebody asked me, how do you evaluate a cannabis startup? And I said very seriously, I said, I look at small things. I look for the words they use. If they say something like cannabis instead of pot or weed, it makes it seem like they're more serious. This was a real answer I gave. It means I had no fucking clue what was happening. So anyway, I got to this point where, I'm speaking, I have all this media coverage, and I had $1 million to spend, right? So at this point, I hadn't fucked up. I was running what seemed like a scam, but I want to be clear, it was not a scam. Does this help? Like, do you guys believe me or not? Okay. I'm just going to leave this up maybe for the rest of the talk. But it didn't seem like I fucked up yet. But I really did fuck up massively at this point, because in addition to convincing the media, the lion media, no, I'm not, okay, we're going to walk that one back. Didn't land. In addition to convincing the media and everybody around me that I was an expert, I convinced myself that I was an expert. And that's where things start to get away from you. So we had what sounded like a pretty good thesis on paper. We said that as Canada legalized cannabis, we would have all of these opportunities come up, this ecosystem of ancillary products that would serve the distributors, the retailers, and the cultivators. And with our network of mentorship and capital, we would get in on the ground floor of these businesses that would take over the world, and we would be billionaires, right? It sounds pretty good. But we were totally wrong about that, and it didn't happen. And we should have known that it wasn't going to happen very early on. And this is where we just believed our own bullshit. It wasn't lies, but not a scam. But it was just in our head. We really thought that we just wanted it to be true because we just caught onto something. So the first reason I should have known that I was wrong was before we raised any money, I did my research and I went around and I spoke to people who had done this before, people who had accelerators in cannabis. There was a few in the States and Europe, and I talked to them and say, hey, I want to do this. And they would say, it's a tough business model and we're having a hard time. And I said, I'm different. I said, I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't know, it's a fun joke there. When you can't make up your own jokes, put a meme up. Yeah, I deluded myself. Yeah, you can't even see it. Don't worry about it. The point is, I deluded myself into thinking that I was different instead of listening to people who had done it before. The second reason I should have known that this was not going to work was that part of what we told people, what we told our investors about why we were going to have this great opportunity was that we would have the best deal flow in the world, right? We had this community, this network of events across the country, so every good cannabis deal was going to land on our desk, but we weren't seeing any good deals. Anybody want to take a guess? Okay, gave that away, but does anyone want to take a guess at what the most common pitch we got was? If you didn't see that, the most common cannabis company pitch. Best cannabis? If you build it, they will smoke? No, like a company. Like what company? A startup related to cannabis. Okay, you don't understand the question. So don't worry about it. We're just going to move on. It's your fault, not mine. The most common, I'm going to just try this again. The most common company idea that we would be pitched is a dating app for cannabis users. Yes. You know why this is a bad idea. I don't need to explain it. It's a bad idea. But we get this pitched over and over and over again. So, I just threw a few in here for good measure. So anyway, we really just kept coming up with nothing, and it started to actually, impact myself, and I can probably speak for my partners too. That we started to feel, bad about it because we were out there telling this story of that we were these experts and we were failing, right? We were not able to pay ourselves regularly. People would see me in the news, speaking at events, and they think that this guy was like super successful, right? People, my friends, my colleagues, strangers on non-cannabis specific dating apps would think I'm like the man, but we couldn't pay ourselves and we had no deals and our wheels were spinning. So we tried to update our thesis at different times. I tried to shift it and say, I'm not wrong, I'm just not right yet. So I wrote this article for the Globe and Mail, because I'm an expert and they believe everything I say, about how when BlackBerry kind of failed, all of this innovation came from that failure. And I said, it's coming. So the failure came. I was right about that. A ton of companies start to fail, but no innovation came. So, just a reminder. No, we're not there yet. Okay. So, and I would continue to get really upset because we kept having to put ourselves out there and pretending that we were the experts because we were hoping for this one hit to come across to make it all worthwhile. And I would get on calls with people, and I'm sorry if you ever pitched me on a cannabis deal because I would be such a dick. Because people would pitch me on ideas, and I would get so mad when it was a bad idea because I really needed a good idea. I did, and they would pitch me these bad ideas, and I'd say, I'm not even gonna get into it because I would get so mad. But this is a good lesson about venture. If you have a good idea, the money will come. The venture investors need you. They have money that people have given them to put into companies, and if they can't find stuff that fits their thesis, they're the ones who are fucked. So, like me. So don't. It's not a scam. And then every once in a while, though, I would get an idea that I'm like, this is workable, and I would continue to trick myself into thinking that it was a good idea, and I would write a memo to my investment committee, just bullshitting, but not really bullshitting, not a scam, that it was this great idea, and this would be $1 billion company. And then they would say no, and I would get really upset with them. Just like me and my friend Shamath, I'm in the arena, they're not. Really? I thought this joke would land here. Okay. I'm working this out, to do a TechTO event. I don't know, also not landing. So we got frustrated and we wanted to get out of this eventually, right? We were stuck in this situation that we couldn't get out of. And somebody gave me some good advice, which is stop doing it. And that sounds like, it sounds like obvious advice, but it's actually harder than you imagine to get out of a situation like this. So what we did was we said, let's choose a date that we want to be done with this by. And we chose a date and said, we're going to wrap this all up by this time, and we'll work backwards from there. And in doing so, we just really centered being professional and being very transparent with our investors. We said why it wasn't working. Too many cannabis dating apps. Yeah, not our fault. Where we went wrong, we did go wrong. Just didn't listen and see the headwinds against us. We just ignored all of that. And everything we did, everything we tried to make it work. And we really did try everything. We tried starting our own companies. We sent Brett to Australia. That was mostly to get him out of our hair. No, we really did send him. We really did send. Yeah, it's okay. I can speak loudly. Sorry. We did send him to Australia to start a company there because, I don't know, we had some weird angle. Who cares? It's all in the past. Thank you, Brett. And then, so we did all that. And as I said before, we did manage to return $500,000 to our investors. And this is a bit of a trick of the phrase return. We literally just gave them their money back because we were prudent, we were restrained, and we just didn't spend all of the money, right? And this worked out really well for us because it actually allowed us to beat the market. Because you can see, this is the ETF for publicly traded cannabis companies. It went down 88% in the time period. We only lost 50%. So it worked out pretty well. Thank you. The Oracle of Omaha over here. But in all seriousness, though, we did spend a lot of time and effort communicating with our investors and really telling them, what happened and why and whatever. So, and I'm just moving past it. So anyway, so this worked out well for us to be very communicative, very open, and very transparent, because shortly after shutting down Leaf Forward, we started a new company called The Peak. And you should all be subscribed. I know I'm not supposed to pitch anything, but it's for your own good. Readthepeak.com. Fast, fun business news. Sorry. And okay, someone's laughing. Anyway, so we started The Peak, and very early on, before we even had the idea of raising money for The Peak, some of the investors in Leaf Forward came to us and said, "Hey, we really admire how you handled that failure, and we see that you have something here. We want to invest." And I don't think that there's a much better kind of validator of how you've handled something than somebody whose money you've lost coming to you and saying, "Hey, I want to give you more money." Right? So it's a very good validator. But there was a better validator, which is we took this company, and in 3 years, we sold it for $5 million and returned those investors who gave us more money, about 2.6, somewhere like that, return on that money in 3 years. So it was really worthwhile for them to stick with us. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Nope, he said it.
Do we have any questions?
Right here.